Hello, welcome to A Course in Miracles. I'm Tomas Garza, and you are not a sinner. Oh my God. Hey, wait a minute, right? We're talking about sin today here on the show. Yeah, the fact that there is none. And the idea that we're working with today from the workbook for students is lesson 259. Let me remember that there is no sin. Now, we've seen variants of this idea before. And if you are looking through and reading through the text of A Course in Miracles, there you will find variations of this exact idea. It's all the same idea. You'll just see it presented in different words and in different context. Here in the workbook, boom, here it is, standalone idea. Now, well, this is one that you might think, really? But I was taught that I was a sinner, worthy of punishment, less than, scum, unworthy, because a couple of fictional people in the story thought that they would eat apples. Or maybe it was a mango or a pomegranate, right? Or some other fruit. I'm talking about the Garden of Eden story. Yeah. So let's break this one down and think about it a little bit. Let's use the principles that we've been covering here in A Course in Miracles to talk about this idea, because you may have been raised, as I was, to think that you're a sinner. And you may have accepted it, as many of the adults around me accepted that this is just a fact of life. This is just the way it is. You're born, you pay taxes, you die, so suck it up. Anybody ever get that message? I mean, it's prevalent in the world, so perhaps you're still getting that. I was awash in this and bombarded, I mean, really bombarded with this message at not one, but two fundamentalist Christian churches growing up. So the adults around me fully bought into this notion of sin and sinner and things that one does, sometimes unwittingly, sometimes deliberately, to offend God. Therefore, making themselves worthy of punishment. The wages of sin is death. It's often quoted. Yet, how often do people really think about that? It's something that many simply blindly accept. And because you've taken up A Course in Miracles, yeah, because you've taken up the study and practice of this tradition, this thought system, I'm willing to bet that you have had at least several moments like I did, sitting there thinking, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not swallowing that one, guys. Please, thank you. No. I mean, is this where you have come from? Many people come to traditions like A Course in Miracles. Many people come to a non-dual self-inquiry tradition like Advaita Vedanta, presenting absolute truth. Advaita, only God is, right? Sound familiar? Many people come to this from a background in a traditional religious society, in a traditional religious structure or system where the idea of sin is prevalent. Now, let's think about what this actually means. If this were possible, that would mean that separation is real, because one cannot offend someone else if there is no separation of any kind. Take a moment, right? Let's take a moment and think about this. If there is, as this course teaches us, no separation of any kind. There's no such thing as separation. Then how can one being, person, entity give offense to another? It's not possible. In this thought system, as we see, and we see it in other non-dual spiritual systems, there are no opposites. So truly, when we seem to be communicating with a separate person, they're not separate. We're actually talking to ourselves. So actually, as I record this, I'm looking into a computer monitor. I've got a microphone right over here. And because it's pre-recorded, I'm talking to myself, yet I'm talking to you. Same thing. And this happens when we're in person talking to somebody as well. This happens when we're live in what we consider real time, right? I love that phrase. Yeah, in real time. Perhaps you get why I'm laughing. Time, space, yeah, not real. There's no separation of any time, of any kind. There's no different time frame. There's no different spatial frame. God is. So how can there be sin? Now, many of us were raised at the same time thinking that we were sinners, worthy of punishment and death, because all we could do was get in our own way and give offense to God. Every single thing that we say or do is an offense to God under that thought system. How terrifying. I mean, have you thought about how wrong, right? How cruel to subject people to this. Really, truly. That's the way it comes across. And you know what? That's the way that the people that are propagating this have been conditioned and raised. I know full well I was conditioned and raised in this. Yet I never believed it. And perhaps you're in that boat as well. So if you are, you're the ones that I'm talking to. And I don't believe for a second that those that really want to cling to the belief in sin would even, in fact, be interested in A Course in Miracles, much less Lesson 259, which is 2/3 of the way through a comprehensive workbook for students. So as always, I'm talking to you because you are ready for this message. And as you watch it, as you listen to it, you need to hear it. Same with any message I ever get. Same with any spiritual related video. It's always precisely what I need when I need it. Ours is to relax and trust that that's the case. Now, we may have been raised at the same time believing that we're sinners. You may have experienced a truth that God is love. And in at least my Sunday school traditions that I sat through, suffered through. I mean, let's be really honest. I was at the same time taught that God is love. On the one hand, I'm a sinner worthy of punishment and death. God is love. How do those combine? How do those even relate to each other? How does that even relate to each other? God is love. Love is total. All expressions of love are maximal, as the Course says. And on the other hand, you're a sinner worthy of punishment and death. Fuck up. So what to do with the two of those? You see, and I'm exaggerating this on purpose here to illustrate a point. You see the contradiction in this. Now, I'm not singling out fundamentalist Christianity in this. Every religion, every spirituality that kind of hardens into a religious system has this kind of thing going on. Every single one of them does. So I'm just speaking from my own experience in this lifetime, knowing that a number of you were raised in a Judeo-Christian tradition as well. So if you weren't, then you'll have had excuse me, you'll have had your own experience with the tradition or traditions that you were raised in. Or if you weren't raised in any, then that will be your experience. So, what I went through was being presented with this contradiction of you suck, you're scum, you're damned to a fiery hell, unless you do X, Y, Z, unless you come to this building at 11 o'clock, but not the one across the street, because those guys are all twisted in the head. Right. Anybody ever get that kind of logic? I got that all the time. And you're presented with fire and brimstone damnation, and God is love. So the two of them can't be brought together. Just as we see in A Course in Miracles, it is exactly as we see in A Course in Miracles that love and fear cannot coexist. Sin and love cannot coexist. The ego and God cannot coexist. One is real, the other is not real. Again, as I often do, I come back to the summary of A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. One of our options is real, the other is not. And to our lasting dissatisfaction, we continue in this life, right, as we have before, to choose the unreal. We do. We're conditioned habitually to choose the unreal. We're conditioned to choose fear. We're conditioned to choose the ego, and may include, along with it, this terrifying and all-pervasive belief in sin. So let's enter A Course in Miracles. Let's enter spirituality and truth. Let's, by all means, let truth enter into this equation. Lesson 259. Let me remember that there is no sin. Love is total. All expressions of love are maximal. And God has no ego to offend. God is not offended by all of our fuck-ups. Just calling it like I see it, yeah. And it's super interesting because Tomas Garza, I'm not the one calling this. I'm just talking. I mean, literally, what you're looking at is an image on a screen. The same with life. There can't be any sin. So I don't expect that you're necessarily going to believe me. I mean, don't take it from me. I'm just you talking on a screen. We are each other. There is no separation of any kind. I know. Yeah, which means every single living thing is us. Remember, we've seen in some of these videos and presented here in A Course in Miracles that in truth, there's really nothing out there. There is no one out there. Everything that we seem to experience in this lifetime is symbolic of what's going on in our mind. Beautiful things are symbolic of our oneness as Christ. They're symbolic of love, our boundlessness, our joy. Yeah. And the hard parts, anxiety, fear, sadness, right? Everything that we experience that's not a good feeling is in fact symbolic as well. It's an opportunity for us to practice forgiveness. It's an opportunity to accept correction from the Holy Spirit, in the case of A Course in Miracles, or Jesus, or your guide or guides. It's an opportunity, as we put it in the world, to grow, right? It's an opportunity to see. Truly, it's an opportunity to see things for what they really are, as opposed to what we want them to be. Because inevitably, what we want them to be in the world is something that serves the ego. Inevitably. So it's all of this, all of spiritual practice is nothing less, nothing more, nothing less than reconditioning ourselves so we can see things for what they are, leave the ego thoughts to the side, recognize them, awareness, leave them to the side, practice, awareness, practice, again and again and again and again and again and again, until it's no longer necessary. That may seem a long way off. I get that. It may seem a long way off, but it's not as long as you think. You could be anywhere else, watching anything else, yet here you are. Should tell you something, right? Now, I know you know that you can't stop now. There's no going back. You've reached a point where that's clearly impossible. As we say here in the world, the train has left the station, and it doesn't have a reverse gear either, and you've been gathering momentum for a long time now. Lesson 259 is not necessarily meant to provoke you and throw your world into chaos. If it throws someone's world into chaos, they're not ready for the message, but you are ready for the message. Not everybody you know is. So, we can't go up to our fundamentalist relatives and friends and just throw this in their faces, right? It's not worth damaging a relationship to be right. This is where, when you recognize that everything's an illusion, you kind of let people have their illusions. This is one way of taking a look at loving people where they are. Because if somebody's not ready to entertain this, they're never going to be attracted to A Course in Miracles in the first place. And what you don't want to do is throw their world into chaos. You're watching this because you need to hear this. And if you've heard it many times already, you need to hear another version of it. Consider it a reinforcement, and consider it a hug, like a big loving hug and a reminder that you're on the right track. So keep going. Yeah, do that. Keep going. Lesson 259 simply is a reminder to us. Let us remember, yeah? Really. Let me remember that there is no sin. There never could be, ever. And there never has been. Allow this truth into your mind. Allow it into your heart. Same thing. Allow it into your experience. Should generate a lot of smiles. And I hope that this provides you on your journey with a tremendous source of relief. Periods of respite and relief are really important on the path, aren't they? Because we regenerate, we refuel, and every now and then we need a reinforcement. We need a reminder that we're not crazy, that we're on the right path. And we can look for those and be open to seeing those in many different aspects of life. But let this be one of those for you. Yeah. So if you believe in your heart of hearts that there's no sin and that you may have been misinformed in this lifetime, then good, right? There is no sin. God has no ego to be offended. And as perfect love, he's not vengeful. Perfect love does not seek out and exact revenge. Ego does that, but the ego has nothing to do with love. It's fear. And the two are mutually exclusive. And of the two, one is real, one is not. We have the opportunity to choose real. You have that opportunity right now. So please, on behalf of yourself first, right? Do this for you, yeah? And you benefit everyone else, all right? Because we can't make other people do as we're doing. As much as we'd love to try, right? We can't make other people see things exactly as we do. Yet there are plenty of people who do. We have many friends on the path. I'm just one of them. You've got more. So it's my invitation to you today to really go deep with yourself. That's what this is all about. People are afraid to go deep, yet we yearn for it. We say we want things other than the peace of God, but deep down, that's what we really want, the peace of God. So until that's all that you want, then you can expect to experience the up and down, topsy-turvy nature of life on Earth. Yeah, with all of the vicissitudes of life, all the bullshit, all of the things that come and threaten to ruin our day, so to speak. It's all a result of choosing fear over love, of choosing the ego over God. So each of us knows the choice to make. It's up to us to go out and make that. So I hope that you may do that today and every day, all right? Every day. Yeah, because as we know, it doesn't stop, right? It doesn't stop until it stops. But while it's still going, we have a choice to make in the present moment. So please, by all means, choose love. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video.